Hello and welcome to CPTV. I'm Aaron Bandler. A bill protecting legal gun owners has been introduced in the California State Legislature. Republican Assemblyman Dan Brogue of Chico says that the bill will protect the addresses and numbers of those who carry concealed weapons. After a New York newspaper published the names and addresses of 44,000 legal gun owners last month, a 70-year-old man's home was broken into to try and steal his firearm. Rogue wants to prevent the same thing from happening in California.
Yeah, I'll go through all those groups. Looking at
But for sure, if you have a woman who's being stalked and she has a concealed weapons permit, for sure they can go down and find out where she lives within minutes. That's really concerning to me because
it is expected that the bill will go to its first committee hearing in March. Flu season is picking up in California, with the influenza virus taking 5 lives. Doctors recommend that all Californians get flu shots.
Predominates, we tend to see more people that get more seriously ill. So
Californians are advised to wash their hands frequently and cover their coughs. A new bill is being introduced to allow illegal aliens to obtain California driver's licenses. The bill by Democrat Assemblyman Luis Alejo will allow illegal aliens to obtain driver's licenses if they can prove that they pay income taxes. Alejo believes that a new DMV study that shows that unlicensed drivers cause 3 times as many fatal accidents than licensed drivers supports the need for his bill. Republican Assemblyman Tim Donnell, however, believes that the bill is another step towards backdoor amnesty. Latest census numbers show that Asians are now the largest immigrant group in California. Being 57% of the state's immigrants, Asians have a growing influence on California's politics. Democrat Assemblyman Paul Fong of Santa Clara, chair of the state's Asian American Pacific Islander Legislative Caucus, says that the Asian community understands that they have greater influence.
We're going to be part of the political, the economic, and the fabric of the Asian American community is coming of age. They're really becoming politicized and they're becoming aware of political empowerment. And
Asians already are an economic force in California. Thanks for watching CPTV and have a good night. No.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashley Whittingham with your 2-minute newscast. A recent report on crime in the justice system finds crime rates are continuing to fall in California. Both violent crime and property crime rates fell 56% from 1991 to 2011. The Legislative Analyst's Office released the report on Thursday. The LAO says now the question is how prison realignment will affect crime rates. Principal Analyst Brian Brown says it's too early to say whether realignment measures will cause an increase in property crime. Brown says monitoring the aftermath of realignment will be an important issue in the future. A recently introduced bill protects the privacy law of law-abiding gun owners. Republican Assembly member Don Logue of Chico says the legislation would stop the release of addresses and numbers of concealed weapon permit holders to the general public. Currently, permit holders' personal information can be found at county sheriff's offices and local police departments. Logue wants responsible gun owners to be given the same privacy rights that judges and law enforcement enjoy.
But you know what? There's a lot of judges and police officers who have complete privacy when it comes to that for good reason. And so any citizen could actually take steps to make sure that their addresses aren't exposed. This is just one layer. This isn't a fix-all.
If the bill passes, then all personal information would be protected, except for the name of the person and the type of permit. The new legislation is expected to go to be heard in the Assembly Public Safety Committee in March. Another bill that was recently introduced seeks to raise the state minimum wage. The bill would raise California's current state minimum wage from $8 an hour to $9.25 an hour over the next 3 years. Assemblymember Luis Alejo believes that wage increase would help deal with the rising cost of living and inflation.
All we're trying to say is that the income should stay up with inflation. And when people earn more, they pay more, it gets regenerated into our economy. People will use that money to pay their bills, provide for their families, and it will also help our local economy by increasing consumer spending.
This is the second bill Alejo has supported that tried to raise the minimum wage. The first bill failed in 2010. The effort was criticized by groups such as the California Restaurant Association, which argued the legislation would force employers to cut down on hiring or move out of state. Yep.
Hello, I'm Brianna Whitney and welcome to CPTV News. The price of getting a college education at California universities continues to soar. Governor Brown wants to cut expenses through more online courses. Brown's budget proposal would give $16.9 million to community colleges for courses offered through virtual classrooms. UC and CSU campuses would also receive $10 million to increase the number of courses offered online. The Chico lawmaker believes it could cut the cost of tuition by shortening time spent in a university. California's high-speed rail agency and Amtrak say they're teaming up to search for trains that will move safely at 220 miles per hour. They hope to find manufacturers that will make as many as 60 trains for use on both the east and west coasts. California is planning to begin this project next summer, and the first phase will run from Merced to Fresno. The planned $68 billion project has been criticized by some as being too expensive. The partnership could help the agency and Amtrak negotiate a better price for the trains. Health officials say the flu season is picking up in California. So far, 5 people have died from the virus. Doctors advise all Californians to get flu shots as soon as possible. Besides the shot, health officials advise people to wash their hands frequently and cover coughs to keep from catching and spreading germs. The flu virus can live on surfaces including doorknobs and keyboards for several hours. California gets high marks for its efforts to protect people from secondhand smoke. But according to a report released by the American Lung Association, the state isn't doing well in other areas of tobacco control. The report finds the state does well when it comes to keeping the air we all breathe smoke-free, but it doesn't do so well when it comes to tobacco control spending and cigarette tax laws. California is one of just a few states that hasn't raised its cigarette taxes in at least 12 years. Tobacco costs California $18 billion in lost productivity and healthcare costs each year, and 36,000 Californians die annually of tobacco-related disease. I'm Brianna Whitney. Thank you for watching CPTV and have a great day.
So how does this compare to your 346 class? Totally different? Way different. It's good. It's just a little stress. Not having to. I feel.
Welcome to CPTV. I'm Christina Favuzzi. A former Cal Poly professor is facing charges for indecent exposure. The district attorney's office is charging Sean Kelly for flashing on the 5th floor of the Kennedy Library in May. Witnesses of the flashing positively identified Kelly. However, university police did not have enough evidence to arrest him in May. Cal Poly gave Kelly a notice of pending disciplinary action, but further action could not be taken until a judge heard the case. Kelly resigned before his hearing. It's flu season, which means health professionals would like you to get a flu shot. The Cal Poly Health Center is offering the vaccine for $9, compared to about $30 at local pharmacies and clinics.
I would like them to think about this as the first time for the rest of their life, not just, whew, I got through this one, now I don't need to remember about it anymore.
Flu shots every day this week. They ran out of flu shots earlier in the week, but they were restocked by the next day. The health center is planning a special Saturday clinic to give students the shot. Stay tuned to CPTV for details on the Saturday clinic. A new bill would make it possible to earn a bachelor's degree from CSU for no more than $10,000. Assemblyman Dan Logue introduced the pilot program. It would be available to students studying science, technology, engineering, or math. High school students can get a head start on completing their $10,000 degree by taking advanced placement classes. After graduating from high school, students must enroll full-time at a community college for at least 2 years before transferring to the university. The program focuses on students living in Chico, Long Beach, and Turlock. CSU officials haven't decided on the program yet. Thanks for joining us today. Stay tuned to CPTV for the latest Cal Poly news.
I'm ready. Live from Studio 300 on the Cal Poly campus, I'm David Aguilar. You're watching CPTV. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. The 57th presidential inauguration was marked with a call for unity. President Obama took the oath of office for the second time in as many days before a crowd of hundreds of thousands on the National Mall. The day started with a private service at St. John's Church before the president headed to the west front of the U.S. Capitol for the swearing-in ceremony. The president addressed the nation by detailing his goals for his second term in office and calling for Congress to work together. He mentioned such issues like gun control, climate change, and same-sex marriage. The festivities continued with a parade that stretched from the Capitol to the White House, and then a night of inaugural balls. Obama is only the 17th president elected to serve a second term. The Algerian gas plant crisis appears to be over after a day-long hostage standoff. 3 Americans are confirmed dead after a natural gas plant in eastern Algeria was taken over by a group of terrorists. State media reports that at least 685 Algerian workers, along with 107 foreigners, are now free. A total of 37 hostages died in the plant owned by BP. People ran for cover as a shooting left at least 4 people injured at a gun show in Indiana and North Carolina. This comes as the gun control debate is heating up in Washington and across the nation. A 54-year-old man accidentally shot himself in the hand after leaving the Indy 1500 gun and knife show. Officials in Indianapolis say the man was reloading his gun in the parking lot when it went off. The man was sent to the hospital where he is in stable condition. Meanwhile, in Raleigh, North Carolina, 3 people were shot as a 12-gauge shotgun discharged as its owner unzipped its case. Nobody was killed, but 2 victims remain in the hospital. Thanks for tuning into this CPTV News Update. For the latest news, you can visit our website at www.mustangdaily.net/CPTV. From all of us here at Studio 300, have a great day.
Hi, my name is Eden Elisage, and this is CPTV. Over the weekend, President Barack Obama officially started his second term as the 44th President of the United States. Obama was sworn in by Chief Justice John Roberts in a private ceremony at the White House this Sunday. The inaugural address and ball followed Monday. Obama spoke to the nation with an optimistic yet firm message. The president brought attention to climate changes, gay rights, and equal pay for women. He also touched on America's economic state. Californians will be seeing a slight decrease in their paychecks this payday. Congress is allowing a 2% cut in payroll taxes to expire. In 2011 to 2012, Congress gave Americans additional income by reducing the Social Security tax by 2%. Lynn Frere, publisher for Spittle Publishing, affected those who struggling to make ends meet. Also in California, farmers are taking precautions to protect their crops from the recent cold snap hitting the state. The freezing temperatures are threatening California's citrus plant supply. Over the weekend, farmers spent more than $17.5 million on frost protection. Growers in Ventura, Riverside, and Imperial counties used wind machines and running water to protect their citrus crops from frost damage. Megan Alpers, spokeswoman for the California Farm Bureau Federation, says,
36 degrees is about the threshold for them. So when temperatures drop below 36 degrees, they start seeing more damage. So lemons and mandarins might have some crop losses. Everyone's evaluating everything now, and we actually still have some time left to go with cold temperatures.
It's an exciting time in the National Football League as the San Francisco 49ers defeat the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC Championship to secure themselves a spot in the 2013 Super Bowl. 49ers head coach Jim Harbaugh will be facing his brother John Harbaugh, head coach of the AFC champion Baltimore Ravens, in the February 3rd showdown. Both brothers made it to their respective conference championships last year and were defeated, falling one win short of Super Bowl contention. This will be the first Super Bowl appearance by the 49ers in 19 years, since they defeated the San Diego Chargers in 1994 at Super Bowl 29. And that is all I have for you today. Thanks for watching. I'm Eden Elisage for CPTV.
I guess so. Hello, my name is Erica Dorico, and thank you for joining us on CPTV. Yesterday marked a memorable day for our country as the president was sworn into office. President Barack Obama was sworn in for his second term as president by Chief Justice John Roberts this Sunday in the Blue Room of the White House. The president was accompanied by his wife and the First Lady, Michelle, and his 2 daughters, Malia and Sasha. Vice President Joe Biden was also sworn in for his second term at the U.S. Naval Observatory by Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the first Hispanic to administer a presidential oath. He was accompanied by more than 120 guests that included cabinet members, extended family, and his wife, Jill. The days-long hostage crisis in Algeria appears to be over. According to Algeria State News, 23 hostages and 32 terrorists were killed. 685 men, Algerians, and 107 foreigners have been freed. Now for an update on Boeing's fairly new aircraft that is having some technical difficulties. Federal investigators will conduct more tests on Boeing's Dreamliner 787 on Tuesday in a special facility in Arizona. Boeing has stated that this jet airline is the company's most fuel-efficient airliner, along with the world's first to use composite materials as primary substance. The 787 is said to be 20% more fuel efficient than Boeing's 767 that it will be replacing. The National Transportation Safety Board will be looking into the plane's lithium-ion battery that caught on fire on an empty Dreamliner in Boston due to the risk of battery. Nearly 50 Dreamliners were grounded worldwide last week, an event that hasn't happened in years. And now on to some big sports news. After 2 big playoff games, the San Francisco 49ers will play Baltimore Ravens at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. The 49ers beat the Atlanta Falcons 28-24 to win their chance at the Super Bowl, while the Ravens beat the New England Patriots 28-13. The Super Bowl will take place on February 3rd, 6:30 Eastern Time at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome. I'm Erica Dorigo, and thank you for watching CBTV.
Live from Studio 300 on Cal Poly's campus, I'm Eve Teitelbaum, and you're watching CPTV. Health officials say the flu season is picking up on the West Coast. The influenza virus is responsible for claiming 5 lives in California so far. Doctors advise all Californians, especially people with vulnerable immune systems, to get flu shots. Health officials also advise people to wash their hands frequently and cover coughs to keep from catching and spreading germs. A California lawmaker has introduced a bill that protects the privacy of law-abiding citizens who own guns. Republican Assembly member Dan Logue of Chico says the legislation would keep addresses and numbers of concealed weapon permit holders from the general public. Last month, the names and addresses of 44,000 gun permit holders were published in a New York newspaper. Logue says the information led to a home invasion of a 70-year-old man with intention to steal his firearm. He hopes to prevent law-abiding California gun owners to be put in the same kind of danger. If the bill passes, the only information made available would be the name of the person and the permit. However, names and addresses of gun permit owners would still be available to district attorneys, law enforcement officials, and the court system. The new legislation is expected to go to a first hearing in the Assembly Public Safety Committee in March. In another new bill introduced in the state legislature, more illegal immigrants would receive California driver's licenses. California is already one of more than 24 states which allow people who were brought to the U.S. before they were 16 and meet other federal requirements to obtain driver's licenses. Assemblyman Luis Alejo of Salinas says the need for his new bill is supported by a new DMV study, which found unlicensed drivers cause nearly 3 times as many fatal accidents as licensed drivers. But opponents object to giving undocumented immigrants a California ID card, which can be used to board a plane or get taxpayer-funded benefits. Alejo does say he may be able to craft a bill which limits the use of the ID card to driving only. Thanks for tuning in today, and have a great evening.
Hello, I am Hannah Iazetta, and welcome to CPTV. Governor Brown is meeting with the University of California Board of Regents today to figure out how to add more online courses to the state budget for higher education. He believes this is one way to cut the cost of getting a college education. Brown's budget proposal would give $16.9 million to community colleges for courses offered through virtual classrooms. UC and CSU campuses would also receive $10 million to increase the number of courses offered online. Assemblymember Dan Logue believes online learning is the wave of the future. He believes it could cut the cost of tuition by shortening time spent in a university. California's high-speed rail agency and Amtrak are teaming up to find trains that will safely travel at 220 miles per hour. They hope to find a manufacturer to make 60 trains for the West and East Coasts. California will begin its high-speed rail project next summer. The $68 billion project is planned to run from San Diego to San Francisco. President Obama launched a major gun control push, urging Congress to pass legislation including an assault weapons ban and expanded background checks for gun buyers.
Gun proposals are very sound, and I think that he is making gun control a national priority again, and I think that is very, very appropriate.
Health officials say the flu season is picking up in California. So far, the influenza virus is being blamed for killing 5 people. Doctors advise all Californians to get flu shots, especially people with vulnerable immune systems like elderly people, pregnant women, and children. Health officials advise people to wash their hands frequently and cover coughs to keep from catching and spreading germs. The flu virus can live on surfaces including doorknobs and keyboards. A long line of eager hockey fans got a chance to see the Stanley Cup at the state capitol yesterday afternoon. The trophy was awarded to the Los Angeles Kings last season after they won their first NHL championship. The Kings will try to defend their title when the new NHL season begins on Saturday. Thanks for tuning in to CPTV and have a great day.
Live from the Cal Poly campus, I'm Jessica Rocco. More illegal immigrants in California might be able to get driver's licenses soon. A new bill proposed by Assemblyman Luis Aleo would allow an illegal immigrant to apply for a license if he or she pays income taxes. Aleo says the bill is needed because unlicensed drivers cause about 3 times as many fatal accidents as licensed drivers.
To be able to obtain their driver's license by having knowledge of the road and knowledge of the rules, or to continue to have them do what they are already doing all across the state.
And we never collect very much for the enforcement.
The flu virus has caused 5 deaths so far in California. All 5 people who recently died from the flu were under 65. To prevent the flu, doctors suggest flu shots, especially for the elderly, pregnant women, and children. The virus can live on surfaces for several hours. The latest census figures show that Asians are now the largest immigrant group in California. Asians make up 57% of the state's immigrants. The figures do not distinguish whether those immigrants are legal or not. Santa Clara Assemblyman Paul Fong says the Asian community knows greater numbers mean greater political influence.
The Asian American community is coming of age. They're really becoming politicized, and they're becoming aware of political empowerment. And of course, they understand it too. And so they're working in campaigns and getting their people elected.
Asian American state lawmakers out of the 120. A California lawmaker has introduced a bill that protects the privacy of law-abiding citizens who own guns. The legislation would keep the addresses and phone numbers of permit holders from the public. That information is currently available in county sheriff's offices and local police departments. If the bill passes, only the name of the person and the permit would be public.
Live from Studio 300 on Cal Poly's campus, I'm Julianne Roth. You're watching CPTV. A California lawmaker has introduced a bill that protects the privacy of law-abiding gun owners. Republican Assembly member Dan Logue of Chico says the legislation would keep addresses and phone numbers of concealed weapon permit owners from the general public. Last month, the names and addresses of 44,000 gun permit holders were published in a New York newspaper. Logue wants responsible gun owners' names and addresses to be kept confidential. Governor Jerry Brown attended funeral services today for a Galt police officer killed in the line of duty. Officer Kevin Tone worked 3.5 years in the small rural town of Galt in South Sacramento County. Investigators say a burglary suspect shot and killed Officer Tone last week.
Girl Scouts that made arrangements to come to the police station to earn their law enforcement badges.
Officers from across California lined up outside the church for Officer Tone's funeral. Tone is remembered as a well-respected member of his police department. A new bill will allow any illegal immigrant who pays income taxes to apply for a driver's license. Luis Alejo of Salinas proposed the bill and says the need for his bill is supported by a new DMV study. The study found that unlicensed drivers cause 3 times as many fatal accidents as licensed drivers. Illinois, Utah, and Washington have already passed similar laws. According to the latest census figures, Asians are the largest immigrant group in California, with 57% of the state's immigrants coming from Asia in 2011. These numbers point to a growing political influence by the Asian community. 11 of the 120 state lawmakers, about 10%, are Asian, while Asians represent about 14% of the state population. Thanks for watching CPTV. Have a great day, Cal Poly.
Yeah, my ear thing keeps on coming out. Okay, I think I'm good. Let's go before it comes out again. Oh my God.
Good afternoon, I'm Katie McDermott and you're watching CPTV. A new bill would make it possible to obtain a bachelor's degree from a CSU for no more than $10,000. Assemblyman Dan Logue introduced the pilot program. It would be available to students studying in science, technology, engineering, or math. Students are encouraged to earn college credits by taking AP classes in high school. After graduating, they must enroll full-time at a community college for at least 2 years before transferring to a university. The program focuses on students living in Chico, Long Beach, and Turlock. CSU officials haven't decided on the topic yet. Flu season is back again, and health professionals recommend that you get your flu shot. The vaccine is available at the Cal Poly Health Center for $9, whereas local pharmacies and clinics are charging around $30. Has been administering approximately 100 flu shots every day this week so far, which caused them to run out earlier in the week. Their supply was restocked by the next day, though. The health center will be hosting a special clinic on Saturday so that students can get the shot. UU Concerts in the Plaza is seeing a change this quarter. ASI is working together with KCPR and Cal Poly student bands to create a more relaxed and local atmosphere on Thursdays. ASI keeps in touch with popular local bands and artists that could potentially play throughout the quarter, and KCPR will have DJs playing music in the plaza. ASI welcomes suggestions and requests for concert in the plaza performers.
So now on Thursdays, it's going to be a time when students are just going to be able to walk through, so it's not going to cost as much, but it's going to be a lot more of a local feel, and rather than a showcase, more of just like music for people to enjoy.
Focus on students and highlight talent on our campus. That's your news for today. Thanks for joining us here in Studio 300. Okay. Hi, my name is Katie Ryan and you are watching CPTV. President Barack Obama was inaugurated into office for the second time this morning. The president took his oath on 2 Bibles, one from Abraham Lincoln and the other from Martin Luther King. It was a special moment as President Obama is our first African-American president, and today we also celebrate the life of Dr. King. After being sworn in, the president stopped to take in the moment. He told those around him that he wanted to take another look because he wouldn't be seeing that sight again. Governor Jerry Brown attended funeral services today for a Galt police officer killed in the line of duty. Kevin Tunn worked 3.5 years as a canine officer in a small rural town of Galt in South Sacramento County. Last week, investigators say a burglary suspect shot and killed Officer Tunn. Officers from across California and other states attended the service to pay their respects and said goodbye to the 35-year-old officer. He's remembered as a well-respected member of his police department. It's going to be the battle of the Harbaugh brothers for Super Bowl 47. Jim Harbaugh, coach of the San Francisco 49ers, and John Harbaugh, coach of the Baltimore Ravens, will face off in New Orleans on February 3rd. Yesterday, Baltimore beat the New England Patriots 28-13, while the 49ers rallied back from a 17-0 deficit to the Atlanta Falcons and finished on top with a final score of 28-24. The Manny Te'o girlfriend scandal continues to deepen. The Notre Dame linebacker and Heisman Trophy runner-up will have his first on-camera interview with talk show host Katie Couric since the story broke last Wednesday. Couric announced via Twitter that Te'o's parents would accompany him in the interview, airing on The Katie Show this Thursday. Thanks for watching CPTV, your one and only source for Mustang news. Have a great day.
Welcome to CPTV. I'm Kim Westland here with your afternoon news. March for the Dream was held in the capital city on Monday. The march was held to honor Martin Luther King Jr. and also to raise funds for nonprofit groups and schools. Several thousand people attended the march, including Sacramento Assemblymember Richard Pan.
I think it is important for community leaders to be out here showing our support and saying that we're going to carry the dream forward.
The event was hosted by MLK 365, a nonprofit group in Sacramento. The flu season is picking up in California. Historically, the flu season peaks in late February or early March in California. Doctors are advising people to get a flu shot and wash their hands frequently to keep from catching and spreading germs. So far, the influenza virus has killed 5 people in the Golden State. Gas prices are starting to rise once again in California. California drivers filling up their gas tanks in Los Angeles or San Diego will likely pay more than other California cities. Analysts say the spike is due to more maintenance at oil refineries lately. California Energy Commission specialist Gordon Shrimp explains why. Cisco has the highest tax on gasoline, with the price of fuel at almost $4 a gallon. A new bill being introduced is trying to raise the current California minimum wage from $8 to $9.25. Assemblymember Luis Alijo hopes to do this to deal with the rising cost of living. Alijo also hopes to create a statewide standard that helps wages keep up with inflation. Online learning may be the new future for college students. Because the price of getting a college degree continues to increase, some think this new bill could cut the cost of tuition by shortening the time spent at a university. Assemblymember Don Logue sponsors a bill for some California students to earn a bachelor's degree for just $10,000. Thanks for watching today and tune in next week. Goodbye from Studio 300. Woo!
Hello, thank you for tuning in to CPTV. I'm Larissa Olson. Are online classes the future in California? The cost of education through California state universities continues to grow. Governor Brown has proposed offering more online education as a way of cutting high costs. The governor is meeting with the University of California Board of Regents to discuss the budget. Brown's budget proposal would give $16.9 million to community colleges for courses offered through the virtual classrooms. UC and CSU campuses would also receive $10 million to increase the number of courses offered online. Assemblymember Dan Logue had this to say. Online classes would give more the opportunity for higher education and save money. A California lawmaker says 800,000 California property owners are being charged an unfair fire prevention fee. Assembly members Morell has announced a bill to get rid of $150 fire protection fee for some homeowners. The legislature approved the fee for homeowners living in what is referred to as state responsibility areas. These are the areas that rely on CAL FIRE for fire prevention and protection. Morell says many of the areas are already protected by city and county fire agencies, and that the fee is unnecessary. California's high-speed rail agency and Amtrak are joining forces to find trains that can travel safely at 220 miles per hour. They are attempting to find manufacturers that will make up to 60 trains for use on both the East and West coasts. The high-speed rail project is said to begin next summer. The planned $68 billion project has been criticized by some as being too expensive. The partnership between the agency and Amtrak could allow for a better price for travel. Coming up, weather and sports after the break.
Hi, thanks for joining me on CPTV. I'm Lena Soy. People fueling up in Southern California are seeing an increase in gas prices. The California Energy Commissions say the price of fuel typically increases during this time to April. Southern Californians will likely pay more for fuel than in other cities across California. Jordan Shrimp of the California Energy Commission explains the reason for this.
Southern California refineries will import gasoline from Northern California refineries. The Northern California refineries produce more gasoline than we need here in Northern California. So they typically send it down by barge to Southern California to meet supply needs. Well, if you're going to do that, you have to pay for sending the barge down there. So gasoline prices in Southern California would normally be 5 or 10 cents a gallon higher.
Every year since 2006, Shrimp says that gas prices have gone up at least 10 cents a gallon and as high as 70 cents a gallon between the first week of January and the first week of April. The Legislative Analyst's Office reported that crime rates are falling, although the reason is still unclear. The LAO also says the big question for the future is, how will prison realignment affect crime rates? The LAO's report found that violent crime and property crime rates fell 56% in California from 1991 to 2011. Some people are blaming prison realignment, which shifts more prisoners to county jails and release low-level offenders, for a recent rise in the property crime. The American Lung Association says although California gets an A for its efforts to protect people from secondhand smoke, it is lacking in other areas of tobacco control. The report finds that California gets a D for its cigarette tax laws and fails in tobacco control spending and cessation programs. California hasn't increased its levied 87-cent tax per cigarette pack in 12 years. Amtrak and California's high-speed rail agency partnered up today in Washington. They are searching for manufacturers that will make as many as 60 trains for use on both the west and east coasts. They also hope to find trains that will move safely at 220 miles per hour. California plans to begin the $86 billion high-speed rail project next summer, with the first phase running from Merced to Fresno. Thanks for joining me. This is CPTV.
Hi, my name is Nicole Powers. Welcome to CPTV. California's minimum wage could increase from $8 an hour to $9.25 over the next 3 years. This bill was introduced by one California lawmaker who believes that our minimum wage should reflect our increasing cost of living. Some cities have set higher minimum wage standards, but Assemblymember Luis Alejo wants the wages uniform throughout the state. California property crimes are climbing, and some point to prison realignment for the blame. In response to overcrowded state prisons, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in 2011 for low-level criminals to be sent to county jails. Since this decision, the California Department of Justice reports a 4.5% rise in property crimes. The president of the Peace Offers Association does warn about making conclusions too soon. University of California campuses are urging Governor Brown to include increases to money to California colleges and universities. UC tuition has almost doubled over the past 5 years. The average cost, along with books and room and board, is over $30,000 per year. Governor Brown's budget has the potential to freeze tuition spikes.
We have to have this in order to be able to manage our mandatory costs, in order to be able to take more students, in order to hire more faculty, offer more course sections, and not have any kind of a tuition increase in 13-14.
Len says that there is still a long way to go. The California legislature will not finalize the budget until later this year. California farmers are protecting their crops this season as the recent low temperatures can cause damage to citrus crops. $17.5 million has been spent by citrus growers throughout California on frost protection. The cold spell, however, is beneficial for nut crops like almonds and pistachios as they prepare for next season. The Stanley Cup trophy made a stop at the state capitol yesterday afternoon. There was a long line of people waiting for their chance to see the trophy up close. The Los Angeles Kings were awarded the Stanley Cup last season for their first NHL championship title. Thanks for watching CPTV.
Welcome to CPTV. I'm Shannon Durkee. Up next, Obama gets sworn into office for the second time. Today marks the 57th presidential inauguration and second for President Obama. Obama took his oath over not one, but 2 Bibles. In the inauguration speech to a crowd of about 1 million, Obama talked about gun control, immigration, national debt, and the end of partisanship for the next 4 years. Before leaving the stage, he looked out to the crowd one last time, saying, "I'm not going to see this again."
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
Mr. President will give another speech tonight at 8 on CNN. Next, Notre Dame linebacker Monty Te'o falls victim to an elaborate hoax. Monty Te'o believed his girlfriend to die of leukemia until he got a call from her on December 6, nearly 3 months after her death. After the call began, Te'o began to have doubts about his online girlfriend, Lene Kukuya. It turns out Lene was made up by a man named Rene Tuya-Sisopo, who has been found to have deceived 5 others in the past. Investigations continue to find out who else is behind the hoax. Coming up, Algeria launches an operation to free hostages. A terrorist seizure in an oil field in eastern Algeria has 37 hostages killed and 5 others missing so far. Multiple hostages tried to escape vehicles that were planted with explosions but didn't make it far before the vehicles exploded. Algeria's prime minister said the al-Qaeda group demands to release hostages was unreasonable, but he is taking next steps to surround the oil field and release workers from the oil fields that could be targeted next. Up next, Lance Armstrong finally comes clean. After years of lying, Lance Armstrong admitted he was doping during his career as a cyclist. Anti-doping investigators estimate Armstrong spent more than $1 million on blood transfusions that would occur up to twice in 3 weeks during the tour. In an interview with Oprah, he admitted to more than just blood transfusions, but blood booster EPO, testosterone, cortisone, and human growth hormones. To top it all off, he said he doesn't feel bad about it. You can view his interview on...
I view this situation as one big lie.
You can view his interview online with Oprah. Coming up, watch as a woman falls into train tracks. A woman in Madrid falls and faints into train tracks of a subway. Luckily, a police officer was able to grab her and pull her to safety before the train came. I'm Shannon Durkee. Thanks for watching CPTV.
Yes. This is Taylor Phillips here with CPTV News. Lawmakers and members of the California Women's Health Alliance are introducing a new bill improving access to abortion in California to mark the 40th anniversary of Roe v. Wade ruling legalizing abortion. The bill will improve access to abortions by authorizing trained nurse practitioners, certified nurse midwives, and physician assistants to provide early abortions. A recent study shows it is safe for advanced clinicians to perform aspiration abortion procedures in the first trimester. The successful result of this study should reduce opposition and help the bill pass. 5 lives have already been claimed by the influenza virus this year. All victims were under the age of 65, and it's still early on in the season. Dr. Gil Chavez says they are watching that number very closely because historically this strain of H3 influenza has been more serious than most. Typically, the flu season is most aggressive in late February and early March, so doctors fear the worst is yet to come. Doctors advise all Californians to get their flu shots as soon as possible. This includes the elderly, pregnant, and small children. Governor Brown wants to provide more funding for higher education facilities to provide online courses to help with the soaring tuition prices. Brown's budget proposal would give $10 million to UC and CSU campuses to increase the number of courses offered online. Assemblymember Dan Liu believes online classes are the wave of the future, allowing more students to get higher education for a better price. The bill supports math and science courses to be earned online, reducing the amount of time spent at a university, thereby cutting the cost of tuition. California's high-speed rail agency and Amtrak says they're teaming up to search for trains that will move safely at 220 miles per hour. They hope to find manufacturers that will make as many as 60 trains for use on both the West and East Coast. The planned $68 billion project has been criticized by some as being too expensive. The partnership could help the agency and Amtrak negotiate a better price for the trains. This is Taylor Phillips, and thank you for tuning in to CPTV News.